And today I'm actually in Syracuse, New York, and we are at model prep for a show that is going to be taking place at Turning Stone Casino. And this is one of our models, Heather. And on Heather, we are looking at some different things that she always has happen with her face framing. And what typically happens on her face framing is there's a chunk or a hole that happens right about here. And when that happens, there's usually something going on. And when I was looking through her hair, I went through and pulled this hair forward, which is what we normally do when we're face framing or we're wanting to create a lot of layers in the hair. And when we do that, if you look at this spot right here, if I were to pull the hair forward and cut this hair forward, by the time it travels back, it's going to be a hole in her hair. Now, this doesn't happen on everybody, but this is a really good example of when you need to be really careful of what's going on with your face framing. So I'm going to actually take a precaution, and I'm going to come in and section out these little triangles right here. And this is the hair that would normally, she said, please don't cut my face framing too far back because I always end up with a chunk back here. This is the hair that if you pull it forward and cut it, when it travels back, it's going to sit on top of her face framing. So I'm going to move this over and get it out of my way on both sides. So I'll just take that hair and remove it. And she has quite a bit more hair on, it's this side, right?
This side.
This is the side. Okay, I'm kind of backwards right now. So this side has a little bit more hair than the other side. So I'll also be taking that into consideration. So now if you guys have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask. And here we go. So I want to bring up her face framing just a little bit. So I'm going to bring it up right around her nose, so or lip level, I think. And you can see from her previous cut, which has grown out a little while, we have just a little bit of hair. There's a little bit of a hole right here that I want to leave. So I'm going to be actually cutting her hair almost in natural fall. I'll bring it out and position it inside of my fingertips, but I don't want to create too much of over direction or elevation because I want the hair to remain very much as heavy as possible. So I've switched to my 7-inch scissors, and these will allow me to create a little bit longer line. So working the hair in natural fall, so I'm not over directing too far forward. I'm keeping it down and at a low elevation. And this is going to give us a really nice line. So I'm just going to work from the bottom up. Right there is where I hit that hole area. Remember that hole. So there's almost nothing to cut off in this area. Now I'm creating a one length line right now, so I'll be softening it after I'm done. So I want to make sure that I get my shape in there first. So working, that was where the hole was, so I'm coming up off of that. So I've taken just a little bit out around that area. And we'll have a little bit of excess, and I'm just going to soften this line just a touch. And Sydney, do we have any questions out there? No questions, okay. Well, I'll just keep going. Hi there. If anybody says hi, tell me who they are.
Hey from Australia.
Oh, Australia. Hello. Hello, hello. Oh, I always have people from Brazil joining. Thank you. Okay, coming across the top, and now I'm just working that one length line. So I created a more solid line, and now I'm just softening it a little bit. So I'm working it down, coming over the top, and just point cutting into that edge, just a little bit. Yes. Why dry cut? That's a great question. I oftentimes will do this when the hair is wet. Her hair was colored previously today by Robert Brown in the background here. And so sometimes it's just easier to see fine hair and the framing around the face when the hair is dry. So many times I will do this wet, but today I chose to do it dry because I'm working on removing, some holes and some, just little things I want to fix. And it's easier to see. Okay, so I'm going to come across now, and we're going to work from the bottom up on this side as well, keeping that hair down as close to natural fall as possible, and then working from the bottom up. Remember, I wanted to keep a pretty strong line, and then I'll soften my line. If I went this way, maybe if you're over here, you might see a little bit better. There we go. Yeah. So then just working from the bottom up. So my scissors are actually what is creating the line instead of my fingers. Right there, because I don't need to take anything off from that point. So I'm just kind of adjusting this line. And even though it's really blunt at the beginning, that's what I want. Then I'll come across the top and point cut into that edge, softening it. Now I haven't worked that area that I sectioned out. So there's that little spot right on top. And I'm going to turn her around to the mirror so I can see now. It's really important to be able to see that balance. Okay. Then I'm going to let down these two guys. These are our problem pieces. So I'm going to let that down and see where it falls, natural fall. So if I were to pull this forward and cut it, you can see where it would land. And I think that's what's been happening to you. Yeah. So let's see here. I'm going to keep this down. And there still is a little bit of a spot there. There really isn't much to cut. I don't think there's anything to cut. Let's see. And I'll be doing some texturizing across the top when I'm done. Right there. So yeah, we've been just doing color and cuts all day long, getting ready for our show at Turning Stone tomorrow. So it is going to be at, I forget what time, 1 o'clock. And I think there are probably some tickets available still. And it's up in up at the casino in Turning Stone. But what city is it? Verona. Okay.
Any tips on doing this technique with naturally curly hair so you
don't
create a shelf?
Yes. Okay, so naturally curly hair so you don't create a shelf. I would definitely, if you're not wanting, let's see, if you're wearing the hair curly 100% of the time, I would definitely cut it curly. And I wouldn't be pulling it out straight. I would just be freehanding. So even just taking a curl and cutting it. So I would just be cutting the hair as it lives. I actually have a good tutorial on that back in my reels, if you want to look that up. I'm cutting a V fringe, so I actually go in and I cut quite short and then leave it longer. It's really pretty, so you could check that out. Obviously, this is not this is not curly hair. No. Okay. Yeah, so that's looking better. And we wanted to shorten these up just a little bit. So let's go ahead. I'm going to switch to a smaller pair of scissors because when you're doing different things, you want different scissors. It's kind of like doing cutting carrots, dicing carrots with a paring knife, a really small knife, or cutting something really small with a big butcher knife. It doesn't make much sense. So
What are your go-to sizes?
My go-to sizes. So right now I'm working with a 6-inch. And I was working with the 7. The 7 is really nice when you're trying to create longer lines. You're working with long hair. So when I start texturizing her hair, I'll actually go in and do a little bit of freehand slicing or back cutting with my 7s, and I like that. But I use my 6s the most. When I'm working on short hair, I reach for my 5.5s. So I'm going to take a small V right in the middle here and just pull this forward. Pinch it, pull it forward, and then work across the top. And I actually, last year, I did a lot of seminars with Jacob Kahn. And this is one little technique that I picked up from that. He's an amazing cutter. Just coming in.
What brand are your shears?
These are called Angel Blades, and they're my own brand. They're a Japanese molybdenum steel. They're $4.99. All my scissors are $4.99, and we are having a sale coming up soon. So stay tuned for that. But they're so pretty. I just love them. I love the white blades. I don't want that. I just want to blend just a little bit. So I'm just carving just a very, very small amount. And then let's see. I want to lighten this up. So when you're looking at the hair, if you have any solid pieces or anything you want to lighten, you can come in and work exactly opposite the fall of that hair. So I'm going to take this little piece right here, not back here, because remember, that's where the hole comes in. Just this little bit, if I can find it, that little guy right there. And I want to place a little layering on it. So I'm going to lift it up and literally over across the head, opposite the way that the hair is actually falling. Then I'll let this back down so it travels back down, 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 and then it will be softer and you won't have as much weight on it. So it becomes a little bit more, layered. So let's do the same thing over here. Lifting this up so it's falling diagonally forward, and then I'm going to take it and lift it up and over. So coming up and over, and it exposes just that hair on top that's a little bit longer. So coming in, point cutting that, and letting it drop. And look at that smile.
That's so good.
Yeah. Okay, so we haven't really done, did we do a layering pattern on you?
No.
I don't think so. Okay, well, might as well go. We'll keep going. I mean, if anybody wants to hang on and stay for more than just the face framing, that's fine. But I always find doing, like, there's that problem area right there. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. This is where it was cut before, and there's still a little bit of that hair, and it's a little heavy, so watch this. I'm going to take this area, do what I did in the very front, and pull it across, and do just a touch of, I'm going to freehand slice this because I don't want to create any line. I just want to really diffuse it. You see when it comes back down, the weight is gone on that edge. So it kind of gets rid of that. I could do that. These are just very fine details that make a big difference when you get in there. Okay, so let's do a little bit of layering. Now, the lower you hold your elevation, the heavier your layers will be. So if you want to see kind of that chunky layer, hold your hair at a low elevation. I don't want to see that. I want to see a very seamless layer. She wants to have a few more layers, correct, Heather? Okay, so a few more layers. So I'm going to be pulling everything 90 degrees from the top of the head and cutting to an increase in length. What this does is it creates a very seamless layer. And I need to work from short to long, so I'm going to stand on this side of her so I can work the scissor up. Let's switch it out again. I'm going to come 90 degrees from the top of the head, and I'm going to be working to an increase in length. And I'm going to freehand slice her layers so that the edges are very just soft and jagged. So that top layer is now going to sit just below, the occipital bone, kind of down almost at the nape area. Using pivoting sections, working all the way around. So working to that increase in length, making sure my elevation is high.
How do you decide how much hair to cut off?
Great question. How do we decide how much hair to cut off? It usually depends on where you want this top layer to sit. And I knew I wanted it to be long enough that it makes sense for her hair. I didn't want to have like super short layers. So I will usually measure where I want the top hair, and then I angle up from there. Okay, working around in that pie-shaped section. Combing through those ends. And I can see my guide right here. So I know I'm working right along that edge right there. So I'm removing length. That's where I start each time. And it doesn't matter if they're not exact. That's what freehand slicing is. It's a very free, loose way to work with the hair. I'm going to stop at the ear area because I don't want to work into that one area that usually gives her problems. I'll kind of take a look at that when she's standing. How many people do we have on there right now? 145 people. Okay, well, that means you guys are still interested. Do you want me to keep going, or are you guys done? If you're done, I'll sign off. I can get through this. Keep going? Okay. If I can get through this one little... Sorry, Heather. Okay. So I'm just changing the angle of her layering pattern. It was a little bit more of a square layer. And so you could see a little bit more weight in the layering pattern. Now that I'm working it to an increase in length, you're getting a lot more of a seamless type of layer. Then I'm going to have Heather stand up, which is what I always love to do on long, well, on any haircut, but on long hair especially, so that I can see how the hair is actually flowing.
We definitely wanted you to keep going.
Oh, keep going? Okay. All right, I'll keep going.
Oh, would you consider a razor?
I would definitely consider a razor, but not on dry hair. If I were going to razor cut, I would have done this wet. And I don't know that I would normally razor cut her hair, but never say never. I mean, I'm not opposed to razor cuts at all. I really like razor cuts. Have you ever had your hair razor cut? Yeah. Did you like it? I did. Yeah. But look at how much more volume is in there already. Wow. Okay, now come back here for a second, Sydney. Because I've done her one length cut down at the bottom, and then I pulled the hair all the way up and worked to an increase in length, we're going to have a pretty strong corner in the middle. So I want to get rid of that corner and soften that out. So I'm going to come through, and I have to find it. So it can be in a different area. So I walk the hair up. So if I'm down here, it's too low. That's part of my one length. If I'm up here, it's too high. I'm in my layering. So I want to hit that in-between point. So I'm going to come in. It's basically going to be right at the round of the head. And the round of the head being the protrusion of the occipital bone. So I'm going to come 90 degrees from that, and you can see that corner. Just going to freehand slice through that. I don't need to remove all of the hair. I just want to remove enough that her hair will have movement. I know it's right there. Can you see that? So that's from here to there is her one length. From here to here is the layering. So I'm going to soften the middle of it. And this will release a lot of movement in the hair. And I'll show you from side to side. There we go. As you move around to the ear area, you have to transfer up. You have to move your pattern up because the round of the head moves up, doesn't it? It's the parietal ridge at that point. Stopping once again at the ear area. I'll do this side and then we'll be done. Oh wait, let's take a look. See the movement down at the bottom versus how this is more straight. Lots of clapping, awesome. We like clapping. Right there, that same corner. That pesky corner, get it? Get caught in the hair. I'm getting told it's almost time to go. We have to head to the casino. Right there. And you start to run out of corner as you move around to the sides. So it just naturally starts to disappear. All right, go ahead and stand up for me, Heather. Let's take a look at you. Come on back here. Right here. Face the mirror. And I'm just going to do a little bit of back cutting. This places a few extra pieces in the interior of the hair. And I'm cutting and moving the hair. So I'm not scraping the hair at all. I'm just going in and softening. Work through it. Okay, turn towards me, right there. Okay, tip your chin down. Just a few fine details here.
Did you flat iron the hair before?
Nope, it was round brushed. Okay, go ahead and have a seat. Uh-huh. Just blow drying through, making sure that that hair is moving and it's doing what I want it to do. Yes, I think I can save it. Yes, I will attempt it. All right, Heather. There we go. Love it. Well, you guys, thank you for joining me for the live and face framing, which turned into a full haircut.